I think sportainment or entertainment is a very key part of sport now. If you feel that you belong somewhere, then you make a more extra effort. So technology offers you to cater to each fan. You can have really exciting data about each fan. Pandemic has taught us a lot of things on how to be smart with technology. Sport has given a lot of careers to people.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Women in Sport powered by the Global Institute of Sports Business and WordsWork. Today we have with us a very special person who's been in the business of sports and sports marketing for over 15 years. Ms. Rajeshree Iyer has been with us for a while working with WordsWork, and now we've had the privilege to have her here with us in India. Rajeshree's main experience has been in the Middle East region, where she has excelled in looking at sports infrastructure, cricketing tournaments, and working on various events, including various Cricket World Cups as well as the IPL. But to understand what all she does, we'll take a nuanced approach to get a sense of all the areas of her expertise. So I'm really looking forward to dive into this episode. Hi Rajeshree, welcome to Women in Sports. We're so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you, Neha. It's my pleasure too.
Absolutely. And we've got you all the way from Dubai. So this is a very special edition where we've managed to get you at our office, at our space, all the way from Dubai. And you have been in the industry for a long time now. And we were just discussing that it's almost been the same time that you and I have been around in sports, but you had over 20 years of marketing in total.
Yeah.
So to begin with and to dial back, what made you get into marketing and then eventually into sports and pivot into sports?
Oh my God, that's like a long topic. But so I'm a pharmacist in my undergrad.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but what happened is I was really never interested in pursuing that more ahead. And by default, I went into, after my graduation, into my MBA and just liked the media and mass comms a lot. So my journey in the overall marketing started on the comms side and advertising. So, did a very hard internship with Walter Thompson.
Oh, JWT.
JWT at that time, and then moved to Ogilvy. And
these were the big agencies of that time.
Big agencies, and also was like a one of the youngest, I could say at that time, a core member for even Zen Publicis. So really worked with Bharat Dabholkar, who's like, very passionate script writer, and also got very keenly interested in much beyond advertising, if I could say. So into touch into the realm of all marketing, touch points. So that's what made me keenly interested in marketing.
Okay.
So that's how the journey began in marketing. And then it was just
sports.
Then I was, so in my marketing journey, I was with a bank. Then I was with Real Media Z in Dubai. So where I was launching all their special projects. So I was one of the, a key person to launch Z Arabia.
Okay.
So what happens is when you work on a project, you basically get a wider lens of things. And so you're not myopic if you're doing media planning or you're doing PR or you're doing advertising. So I always liked this the thirst to know more, So that's how I got into the marketing realm. And I was handling one project. I was a commercial producer on one of the, very popular TV programs called Z Habitat.
Yeah.
And that's how I got an offer to be a part of the project team who was setting up Tunis Sports City in Tunisia. So I said, okay, this looks interesting. I'm going to handle the marketing part of sport, but I'm going to get to know how a sports city is actually going to be built. So, it was very, very tough days. A year and a half, we were in Tunisia and Morocco in between those. So we had to work with the project team of, nuts and bolt, project manager who thought, what are these marketing guys saying? So it is like, and then the architects. So anything, even if it is sport, if it's a sports city, the project needs to be viable.
Absolutely.
So that's got me into the business side of sports marketing. Because we who have a flair of marketing love to really wear a creative hat and go mad. But at the same time, it needs to make business sense. So
Otherwise, the sustainability becomes questionable, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So with Dubai Sports City, they had just launched. I went with them in 2010. So it was a good 9-year run with them.
Wow.
And when you're doing a real estate which is themed around sport, it's a very, very cleverly done project, and it's the vision of the 3 Emiratis, Zarounis, Bukhater, and Ms. Falak Naz.
Okay.
So the idea was to have, Center for Excellence. That was their key thing. And the 3 stakeholders believed that to be successful, you need to have quality things in your project and also associate with international brands.
Makes sense.
So
bring in the brands, make it viable for them
bring
also.
the best of the world to Dubai.
Correct. That makes sense, yeah.
So that was very dynamic because I literally learned, and it was a learning curve, and you kind of like grow in your profession when you learn, right? You can't become stagnant. So I had the opportunity to even tie up with Manchester United, to tie up with Ernie Els. So we got the Ernie Els, who's the best, he's a golfer. We got his brand to develop the golf course
side of things, yeah.
And then soccer. So we had Spanish soccer schools. So we had Michel Salgado, who has, I think, I don't even remember, I shouldn't be saying, over 30 caps in Spain football. So he was the one who, set up the entire sports academy. So we set up the sports village. So we realized that to be in the sports business, it has to be multi-sport.
Yeah.
Though we had a very large and a impactful stadium, stadiums don't really bring money because they're not busy 365 days.
What about the day-to-days of it, right?
So then I think the entire thing grew because you need to build a community around it, right? So moms and dads want their kids to go every evening to play sport. So that's the entire concept which grew. Then based on that way, we said, of course, in the marketing mix, there has to be restaurants. So we then made sports themed restaurants to kind of support the ecosystem. Then you can say that we started a club style thing. And then I just want to go back a bit, what we spoke about is to bring the best and to bring the brands. So then we spoke to ICC, and ICC did the first mover advantage, and they built the headquarters in Sports City. So now I think at the drift of it is basically to kind of bring the project together and to be completely involved in it was a very, very exciting experience.
Very interesting. So were you, as part of the marketing process, the one who was deciding what kind of brands to bring in or how to make it commercially viable long term?
Right. So it was a group effort.
Yeah, of course.
So in terms of sometimes which brands had to come in was, we had a sports business head who looks really after the talent and the operations part of it. And then we have the marketing part, which looks like which brands can resonate with your entire project. So it was a group effort of the sports business. When I mean sports business is the ops part of it. And, the guys who run the day-to-day mechanics, and then the sports marketing who get the word out there. So that was me. And towards that, all these things, it's also viable with the project construction team. So I would say it's a triangle.
Absolutely. Everyone needs to play their part, basically.
And that's how sports ecosystems work and can be successful. So this is how, and then we grew a lot. And then a couple of years later, I made a conscious decision that, maybe I should start a consulting so I can get to know more brands. And then I went back to Emirates, Emirates Cricket Board, ACB. So they gave me consulting, and then we started I was a prime part of the Asia Cup, which happened in Sports City, and also the World Cup qualifiers, which were held, and both the IPLs, which during COVID time we benefited.
So everything that was happening in cricket, you were a part of that process as well.
And that's very good because Neha, as you know, in sports marketing, it's a lot. You have the sponsors to please.
Yes.
You have your own brand to take forward. You have to do PR for the brand. So you need to kind of balance all these things, because
everyone has different expectations as well.
Expectations, right? To manage expectations and also see that which will work for that particular stakeholder, because that keeps on changing year to year.
Absolutely.
So, that's how the entire kind of journey was
has
there.
happened, and it sounds really enriching given the different exposures you've had, and which is very wide. But coming back to the whole concept of a sports city and this kind of an infrastructure, I think even in India we would really benefit from something like this. And as of now, the situation is such, a lot of the infrastructure is on the onus of the government or the state government. But now I think privatization is happening, and this whole viability factor that you were talking about, bringing the right kind of brands in and making it viable on a day-to-day basis. I think we are sitting on a lot of really good real estate, so to say. I have a Dhyan Chand Stadium here in Delhi, for example, but I'm not sure how much of it is being maxed out in terms of capacity of usage. So I don't think space is the problem. Building utility into that space probably is the problem. And do you think public-private partnership could be a way to go to make sure it comes together?
Yeah, you're right, because PPP works best in this, in a viable, to make the projects viable, because the government has a different role. Of course, infrastructure is one of them, but to create talent, grassroots talent. Like if you're looking at India, it was amazing that, how much of, all of us were so cued in and clued in into the Olympics.
This time.
Why?
Yes,
because we want the youngsters of India to participate in that 2036 or, the next one. So you have to have this talent very young. And see, it is not only about talent scouting, isn't it? It has to be given that all the, youngsters or in whatever field they want need to have the opportunities very close. When I say catchment area is a very business word, but it needs to be in the catchment area.
Otherwise, it's not viable.
So I think those kind of like, systems, if we bring in India, it is awesome. There is land available. So Sports City, in Dubai, when we built it, it's 100 acres or 1 billion square feet, as we call it. There are these land banks which are there. But so you can build an entire ecosystem. There could be some, villas, there could be high-rise apartments, and a center of excellence, daily sporting grounds, league sports, restaurants, entire ecosystems. Like I've seen like a lot of residential in all over India are huge now. They go vertical. There are 55 floors of just residential. Why don't we consider in cities vertical buildings for sports?
Absolutely.
Because that is the way the metros are built.
And even in Mumbai, the only space I'm seeing a lot of sport happening is now on the rooftop spaces as well, because that's what they've been pushed to do. But why not then?
So you can have an entire, in metros, you can have these smaller spaces, which are like 35 to 40,000 square feet. But you make a vertical structure and you can also have the top golf on it.
Exactly.
You can have like a couple of floors where you have indoor cricket. You can have, of course, a top floor for cricket, or you can also have tennis, you can have paddle. You can basically make it into a very good culture, because if there is a very outdoor and, like a sporting culture in kids, they also will not become the HD generation, which is head down, just looking at gaming and, your devices. So I think all this is there. I'm really truly excited about creating some things in India which are vertical spaces also.
I think that's a very innovative idea. I think the idea is to work with the boundaries that we have had to build around ourselves as far as infrastructure is concerned. But why not look at it this way? Right now, if we talk, at least in India, about centers of excellence or sports cities, it's looked at from a very elite athletes lens. But if the same space can be repurposed to children or to daily crowds or to build that sports culture, what you're talking about, that's when you'll actually see it being activated.
Take sports to malls.
Take sports to malls, right?
Okay, so I'll just give you an example if I have the time.
Of course.
So we know that online shopping is big. I rarely go to a mall to buy my clothes or perfume, because I can get it at a drop of a click of a button. So what can malls do? They have beautiful malls and mall spaces, but you're struggling to get the people in.
That's their challenge.
The challenge, because there are these big brand stores which are vacant, purely because it's not that people are not buying. There is always, but people are buying online. So create, flexible spaces within malls. Create like instead of just like having I'm sorry to say, I've got nothing against kitty parties, but you can have a space where you can bring bring the kids to the mall to play cricket, to play something different, and that creates itself a very good environment. So the spaces are there, like you said, but what to create into those spaces is you can do a lot of innovative
things. It can
things.
be. You just need to be creative about it and open to the ideas. Also, like we correctly discussed, that it requires a lot of partners to come together for it to come true. So I think infrastructure we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
And huge learnings, I'm sure, from spaces like Dubai, which you can bring over here as well, I'm sure, with best practices.
Yes.
But what do you think works there? What do you think has made things tip over there in terms of being able to build out and also purpose gainfully these kind of spaces? You're using these spaces for holding international tournaments. There are all these academies that are running there as well. And there is entertainment, right?
Yeah.
As well.
So entertainment is a part, you have to have like sportainment, as you call it. So these days, sports are entertainment, whether it's T20 cricket, whether it's a Ferrari race, whether it's anything else, So entertainment quotient is very high, and you need to include it because basically, I think as human beings, we love to be entertained and we like to be a part of something which is thrilling.
Yeah.
So if any sport, which is like, we love, why does everybody watch a 90-minute soccer game? Because you feel that you're on that field, right? All the 90 minutes you are thrilled.
Yeah.
You are like waiting to see what is going to the finish line, or whether it's a T20 game, any sport, So I think making that entertainment angle around it, surrounding it, becomes very important.
Correct.
Because that entire on-ground experience, you're taking it off the ground for the spectators to enjoy, So I think sportainment or entertainment is a very key part of sport now.
It is.
And you make a weekend out of it, instead of
and I think in developed markets like US, it has become that kind of a weekend activity or a college activity where, the stadiums are going packed even with a local game, for example, because they're not just there to watch elite sport.
Yeah.
They're there to have a sporting entertainment experience, probably.
Yes. Yeah.
So that coming in would be really great. But basis all the events also that you've handled and worked in from a marketer's lens, how important is fan engagement and what all is happening in the world of fan engagement? What are the key learnings you've seen from the global market that have worked well?
Fan engagement is key because if you don't have, especially for a league game, and for any game, because the fans are what make the sport too.
Absolutely.
So you can see it passionately, whether it's an IPL or anything, even if it's anything which is in between, like even in Olympics, we are fans of India at that time. So you are fans of something, it just changes as per what sport is. And engaging the fan becomes very important because again, it's that human nature to belong. If you feel that you belong somewhere, then you make a more extra effort.
Correct.
So that excitement
of the stickiness of the audience.
Stickiness of the audience. And there are variety of things happening in fan engagement, right from the, either it's a fan arena or a, carnival or pop-up games to technology.
Yeah.
So these days, everything has become personalized. So what a Neha likes in sport might be different from what a Rajeshree likes.
And we need to customize to each of their tastes.
So through very bespoke developed QR codes, you can literally get each and every segment of your fan engaged these days.
Yeah.
So through technology, and we are happy about that. So technology offers you to cater to each fans, because you have, even from a business part of view, you can have really exciting data about each fan and then purposefully deliver content. So delivering content is the best. We all flick through reels.
Absolutely.
And then the AI just studies what's a pattern and throws those out at you. Similarly, for even any sport, you can kind of like see what the data is about the fan and purposefully not only give out content, deals, merchandise, everything. So it's a big ecosystem in itself, if I could say that.
Absolutely,
and if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does, because one is to keep them engaged on ground and build that spectator experience, which is so important. The other one is how we package it for viewership as well. And from what I've understood so far, a lot of commercial success depends on these two factors. How much am I being able to bring in fans and how much am I being able to build my viewership? So hence it kind of becomes critical to commercial success, if that makes sense.
Yes. So any viewership is not only, I mean, in sport, about the sport, but how engaging the content is also thrown around it, which is important. So whether it is like, product integrations, because how bigger the sport, but, even if you take examples of an NBA or an IPL or any other sport, you need to work hard today to retain that fan.
Yeah.
So I'll just give you a small example. You might be knowing even of Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Not everybody can afford a ticket, but there is a day pass for a Wimbledon. Not many people know they can still go there and have a full tour and an experience and then just go off before the matches start. So you feel included. It's an inclusive, effort. And I think that makes, if you can make everybody inclusive in what you're doing, in whichever sport you're handling, and if it's a business part of it, try and make it more inclusive to everyone in that bigger universe. And there are various touch points to do it, So,
and with your experience in broadcast also, when it comes to, again, putting things together in a way which is making it easier to market it.
Right.
What are the kind of innovations you've seen, whether it's largely cricket or any other sport, where the packaging has made all the difference to make it more engaging as content? Because cricket is cricket, of course. Right. There are different levels of cricket. But what's the differentiating factor that marketing or business of sports brings into play to build that edge towards the marketability of it?
So you mentioned broadcast. So even in broadcast, the commentators and all try to these days include and be more friendly.
Correct.
Give that, experience on the ground. So, whether it's a cricket or a football, there is net practices. There is pitch visions, so you can actually the broadcast can be more interesting if the key commentators or players are also very involved. We've seen in the business of sports itself, like, whoever is like the commentator needs to get more involved.
Yeah.
It's just not about telling out how the game is going, but little bit of anecdotes,
making
entertainment. Again, there is sportainment in it.
That's true.
There is sportainment.
And you think adding languages to live commentary has also helped to grow
it has.
accessibility?
Yeah. And presenters. So, if you have the language presenter and language commentators, that also adds, if I could say, a lot of professional careers to a lot of people.
Correct.
Sport has given a lot of careers to people. If you say for cricket, there's a playing 11 or 22 people on the bench, but behind that, there are 100 people who have careers.
There's an entire ecosystem that makes it happen, right?
So there is going to be the sports guys, of course. So there's your coaches, there's your physios, there's your bowling coach, there's your batting coach. I'm just taking cricket as an example. You could extend it. But beyond that, there are the Hawkeye experts. Now it's technology. So many people have made careers in technology part of it, so today a bowling analyst sits with the bowler to actually give him that this is how your, if you just put your speed back up a little by 2 kilo, how much ever, or a little bit pace it down, all through technology. This is the analyst telling them.
Correct. That's right.
So that's a career you've built. Beyond there's like people like us in marketing, there's PR, there's activations.
There is industry in itself.
It's
now,
a big
by the
industry.
Very definition of it.
It is a very, very big industry. So whether it's a 3-hour game or whether it's a NBA football, basketball, or a 90-minute of football, there is a big industry which supports it.
Correct.
And makes it successful.
And while we're seeing a massive growth in India, how's the situation been in the Middle East as far as sports is concerned? We're seeing a lot of growth in events happening there. Infrastructure, of course, we've already talked about, but is it at that space where we're trying to become a global destination for sports, and how are they trying to do that?
One thing which UAE has excelled in, they want to they've brought the best of the world to UAE. So, if you see the horse racing, they have the best facilities, got the richest race.
Of course.
It's got the most luxury, hotel. So they believe they believe in superlatives. And they have carried out to see that the infrastructure and the experience supports that. Correct. So that's the reason why the best of professional matches come there. Whether it's your Ferrari, whether it's your cricket, soccer, I can say horse racing. But beyond these, the residents also have a good time because there are these facilities which are not only for professionals, but they are for plain Joes. Where you go and just play a game of paddle if you want. And if you don't want to do any exercise, there's the bounce, where you just, adults can bounce on a bounce. Wow. And it's apparently extremely good for your lymphatic system. That's what I learned. Okay.
Maybe that's what we'll do next time when we come to Dubai.
Bouncing is extremely good on a rebounder for your lymphatic system.
Super.
So everybody gets an opportunity to, whether it's a 5K marathon, you want to run or just take part.
So the opportunity to participate in sport is vast because of everything that's been built around, but also built accessibly.
Accessibility is the main thing. So at a grassroots level, even if you want your children to go and learn sport or just be healthy, it's there. Even for adults, even if they just want it as a casual game or just, to keep fit, the accessibility should be there.
Correct.
I think if you make it more accessible, it's good. I mean, I think I would like to give, big shout out to our Prime Minister, and I want to come in here, to bring the yoga to schools, was such a great thing. So, I mean, there are many, India also, we are good in so many things, but I think we just need to make it accessible.
And I think not everything needs big infrastructure. I think you just need to create that environment around it.
Right.
And it kind of starts making sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But which out of so many tournaments that you've been such a in-depth part of, which tournament was the most memorable for you to be part of? And what happened there?
That's like a tricky one.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But how are the IPLs? I mean, the IPLs that you conducted, they must have been challenging also,
IPLs were good, and that could be a memorable one because the IPL which happened in UAE, which was during COVID.
During the pandemic.
It was during the pandemic, and it was a challenge for us because we were handling it operationally there. So we had to make it extremely smooth in terms of the protocols so that, so there were 3 layers of, protocols we had to manage.
Okay.
So there were people who were in the center of the bubble, couldn't get out. And we used to be on the third
layer of it.
Layer because we had to move around.
Right.
But that was very good because I think pandemic has taught us a lot of things on how to be smart with technology.
Yeah.
So I can tell you, we did so many product shoots for the sponsors in India, with the players of the IPL being in their dressing room in the bubble. And I had sent a camera team there. They did the entire product shoot inside the bubble with us being outside and the director being on Zoom
and
in
all
India.
Of that coming
all
together.
Came together and the shoots were excellent. So after
sometimes
this,
the less chaos is better for all.
It was a very structured thing. And I think after that, many of the shoots or everything happens online, so you may have like a director sitting in some other part of the world directing, but you just need to facilitate and bring. So that was interesting and yes, challenging because...
So it led to a lot of innovation out of necessity at that point, but now maybe some of them have emerged as best practices as well.
Yeah. They've become...
Great.
I like that. I mean, that was because it was a challenge and we worked around it. And in sport, you don't have the luxury of time.
Yeah.
Because... when there is a tournament, there is a start time, which is broadcast related. There is a start time because, the start and finish had to happen because it's time bound.
Correct.
So there is literally no room for error.
And it's also very high pressure.
Yeah, it's high pressure.
I think it's a very even and fair balance to say where, of course, we get exposed to the best of the world and there is so much creativity that one can have in this field, but equally it's a lot of hard work and being on your toes without much of a margin for error. But I think that's what makes us learn and grow and continue to be passionate about
it.
Absolutely. Now I just wanted to move into another aspect of sponsorships because that's something you deal with a lot and you get this heavy face because it's a tough one. But
I don't do that at the moment, but I've done it. Yes.
You've done it in the past. So where has the sponsorship landscape been? I know traditionally it was all about branding in a very simple way. But now again, things like technology, things like different avenues to give a brand their own ROI. Where has sports branding shifted to, and how are sponsors looking at sports today?
Yeah, so sponsors they really look at an ROI.
Of course.
But they have an ROI matrix which is on different levels.
Okay.
So and it also depends on which product cycle the product is in. So if it is a brand which is launching, that sponsors our brand, sponsorship metrics will be very different because they want to be, they want awareness is their major goal. Yeah. But so it depends on the life cycle, or they use it maybe to promote a new product or to retain customers.
Or to build credibility.
Or to maintain credibility. So everyone's goal is different, objective is different. So if you know the goal and if you can, as marketers, be innovative, because I always sometimes tell the sponsorship guys, you look at it very, scientifically, but there is also always a human element to it, a human factor to it. So there was one, I'll just give you a small example. So there was a brand which was really struggling to get a sponsor from a particular, I wouldn't want to name.
Sure.
They were from a particular country, that is UAE, because they were not able to kind of like give them the, exact product matrix or, how many logos, how can it seem, whether it's on a jersey or a, trouser, their logo, how many times will it seem? That math is one.
Yeah.
But then we gave them a thing that why don't you look at a ground event which will touch their customers a lot.
In a more direct way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they looked at it with a different lens. And then they found that match. They were able to find a sponsor who exactly wanted that. So, so that's why I'm saying that each sponsor has a different brand objective. So it is becoming tough because they really...
You can't be generic anymore in this.
You can't. You have to be...
Yeah.
It's very myopic. It's very on the dot, on the point. And sponsorship managers look for a lot in brand sponsorship managers. You have to really tick all their 100 boxes before they can say yes.
And honestly, something like a cricket does come at that ticket price where they are looking at that ROI and it's not just for posterity's sake in any case.
Yeah.
But I think other sports also would like to come up to a certain level. And for India, I think Olympic sport is slowly getting there. The gap is, of course, vast. But I think some of these regional sports like Kabaddi and Kho-Kho and then Olympic sport as well are seeing that bit of light coming through in terms of brands looking at them as well beyond cricket.
Yeah.
Because that's where the gap is over here right now.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a big gap. And... but India has a vast population, so, getting them to the, really to the grassroots level or everybody watching it. So you need to kind of, I think, go a bit deeper, deep dive into your target segments and everything, and then come up with a good package for the sponsor. But yes, it is, sponsors do like ROI. So it is you need to really
There's
work
no hiding
very hard.
from that. You have to first address that particular piece.
And the objective,
But do you think digital plays a big role here? Because what I noticed, especially during the pandemic, where it was hard to do any sponsored activity on ground for obvious reasons, a lot of the innovations took place also in digital platforms getting monetized.
Yes.
So whether it was producing branded digital content out of the IPL teams, or there were various other innovations. Do you think that's a trend that will also continue now going forward?
Will. It's like that O2O, like, offline to online. So whatever is offline, you need to take it online.
Yeah, it's a given now.
It's a given now.
Right.
And it's sometimes what works online. So there are a lot of formats in online. And there is a room to play with a lot of content in, you can really use AI to your advantage on brand placements, on pitch mat placements. So you don't really, it's become easier when things have gone online, actually. And the offline connect has to be there because we are humans.
Of course. You have to have something to put together.
Yes, but the online entire area and the spectrum has grown a lot. And there is hyper reality now. I could think any creative person can think about a team, just the concept, and 20 different people from all over the world can be sitting where they are, and you can produce a beautiful reel around that. So it's
we
fun.
have to catch up with the times.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And move and change and adapt with the times.
I think agility is really important for us to remain, especially in a field like sports and marketing put together, which are both very dynamic spaces to be in. I think we are at that cusp where we need to constantly learn and relearn.
Yeah.
But having said that, when you look at talent now and you're looking at marketing talent in sports, do you think that talent is also growing in this area? How much now, as of today, what our job description is, and you and I have evolved over the years into our roles, which now there is no time to be able to do that and you need to move quickly. Are people qualified enough? Are you finding the right kind of talent, or do you think there's a gap that needs to be filled where people need to understand sports management better? And I know you're teaching as well, but is enough happening in the education side?
There could be lots more happening, if I could say, because I do teach some of the sports management as a guest lecture. I take certain specific topics, but I do, and we train a lot. So when we do large events, we take on board interns and or people who are just come out of the sports management schools, and we do give them a job. But there is a gap area. So again, the industry needs to step in.
Correct.
The industry needs to step in and take these keenly, people, young graduates, or while maybe they have to spend 6 months or 1 year as an education process with an institution. Because when you're wearing into a tournament hat, you want someone who knows the job. So there is no time to train when you're there.
You shouldn't have to, actually.
You can't. There is no time. And so, but the sports industry worldwide is so large that there are opportunities for a lot of people to jump into this. And there is, in sports marketing itself, there is huge.
There's
in
already
sports
enough.
itself, there is a lot of careers. So if people, if they can't make it as a player, there's nothing to be disheartened about, because there are many career opportunities. We as marketers have built the players also, haven't we? And the talent. So there is a lot to do, but more awareness that this industry exists.
And it has so much opportunity.
And has so many opportunities. And maybe focused education courses. Sports law is very big. Sports management, sports marketing is there. Sports sponsorship law, So there are various tranches in sports marketing also, which young students can go for.
So that was one, and then within that comes a subset of our topic, women in sport. And the lens I wanted to wear in this entire piece was the fact that while there are few women in sport as athletes, and now that's grown a lot, and touch with this Olympics, it really hit out that final equalizing mark. But on the business side, it's rare for me to find someone like you with about 20 years of experience. So it's rare, because we were very few of us when we started out, and now we want to grow those numbers. I've lucked upon finding many people like you who are very talented in very specialized areas of this industry, what we've been talking about. But what can we do to get more women into sports now?
So we
or the business of sports.
Yes, the business of sports. So we must, I think, make people aware that this is also a career. Or you might be already handling it for your client, but you can look at it more seriously, because the business of sport has a lot of room for women, and I think women sometimes shy away thinking that sports is only for men.
It's a
not.
perception.
It's a perception.
Yeah.
So it's more of a perception change, and you're the best at it, Neha, because yes, some of the operations part of it and all are, in some sport driven, mostly I can say skewed towards men more than women. But the business of sport is all out there for us to grab.
It's an open market.
It's an open market.
Yes.
And right from, academies, you could lead an academy. You can launch a new, brand of, whatever sport is there. You can be like me, who is handling a different league, or maybe looking at sports marketing for a board. I think there are lots and lots of careers in
opportunities.
sport.
I think we build those walls around ourselves, but especially in industry like sports, at least I've experienced it even here in India, it's fairly open.
Yes.
And it's fairly inclusive as well. So the opportunities are there for all of us to grab for sure. But if you were to look back at your younger self, the young girl that you were, would you have ever imagined to have been so in the thick of things, of such massive global events and activities and sporting initiatives, that you've had that exposure with over the last few years?
For me, no, it's different.
Yeah.
But because I have evolved a lot and I have dabbled, maybe there's an Aquarian side in me, where I've dabbled into variety of things.
Yes.
So I didn't really think I would be, in a sporting career. But I knew I would be in the business of something.
Something, yeah.
So I think that has kind of materialized. But I think that's the fun of life. You can evolve. You don't really need to stick to something very, typically you might feel in your career path itself, you might come across something different which kindles your passion more. So you should just go for it.
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And what's coming up next now? What are the big things that are coming up for you which are exciting you in your work?
So I'm currently heading the marketing for International League T20, which is, the second largest league in the world. We have the largest, international pool of players that is coming out of in UAE. And I'm looking and we are working towards that. The league is going to be in January. So all of us 6 months ahead of time are forming all the strategies, forming the core teams, working with different project teams to make it viable and successful. So that's what I'm working on. Then I'm also working on a project in India, looking at these vertical spaces and even creating some sports ecosystems or sports themed real estate, themed cities. So would love to hear, even if anyone is there ready to join hands, we are open.
Excellent. It all sounds really exciting, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much.
The league as well as all your new ventures. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thanks
today.
a lot, Neha. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode with Rajeshree. I completely enjoyed learning from her and understanding how advanced certain areas are in the rest of the world and how much we have to learn from it. Of course, with people like Rajeshree in the industry, we can make sure that all of this comes to India and becomes a part of our reality very soon.